Maya Rodriguez had always been the girl who tried too hard. At 22, she stood barely 5 feet tall in her worn-out sneakers, clutching a camera that seemed almost too big for her small frame. The other photographers at the sports journalism conference barely noticed her as she weaved through the crowd, her press badge hanging crooked around her neck. She had scraped together every penny from her part-time job at a local coffee shop to attend this conference. While others wore expensive suits and carried professional equipment worth thousands of dollars, Maya's entire setup cost less than most people's monthly phone bills. Her camera was a second-hand model she had bought from a pawn shop, and her telephoto lens had a small crack that she covered with electrical tape. The conference was buzzing with talk about the upcoming championship game between the Tigers and the Hawks. It was the biggest sporting event of the season, and every major publication wanted their best photographer there. Maya listened from the back of the room as the veteran photographers discussed their strategies and equipment setups. Some had been covering sports for decades, with impressive portfolios and connections that opened doors she could only dream of walking through. During the lunch break, Maya overheard a conversation that made her stomach drop. Tom Harrison, a photographer from the city's biggest newspaper, was complaining about having too many assignments. He mentioned that his publication still needed someone to cover the championship game, but they were looking for someone with experience and professional credentials. Maya's heart raced. This was exactly the opportunity she had been waiting for. She had been trying to break into sports photography for 2 years, taking unpaid gigs at local high school games and community events. Her portfolio was small but passionate, filled with shots that captured the raw emotion of athletes in their most vulnerable moments. She approached Tom with trembling hands, introducing herself and showing him some of her work on her phone. Tom glanced at the images quickly, his expression skeptical. Maya could see him taking in her appearance, her cheap equipment, and her obvious nervousness. When she asked about the assignment, Tom laughed and shook his head. "Look, kid, this isn't amateur hour. We're talking about the championship game here. Thousands of people watching, careers on the line. We need someone who knows what they're doing, not someone learning on the job." His words stung, but Maya pressed on. She explained her passion for sports photography, her knowledge of the game, and her willingness to work for free just for the chance to prove herself. Tom's expression softened slightly, but he remained firm. "I appreciate your enthusiasm, really I do. But this is too important. If we mess this up, it reflects on the entire publication. Maybe start with some smaller events first. Build up your experience." Maya felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment as other photographers around them stopped their conversations to listen. She could see the mixture of pity and amusement in their eyes. One older photographer patted her shoulder condescendingly and suggested she consider wedding photography instead, claiming it might be more suitable for someone like her. The rejection hurt more than Maya had expected. She excused herself and found a quiet corner of the conference hall where she could collect herself. Looking around at all the successful photographers networking and sharing stories of their latest assignments, Maya felt completely out of place. Maybe they were right. Maybe she was being naive to think she could compete in this world. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother asking how the conference was going. Maya stared at the message, unsure how to respond. Her family had sacrificed so much to support her dream. Her parents worked multiple jobs to help pay for her photography equipment and education. Her younger brother had given up his own after-school activities so the family could afford Maya's camera repairs. As Maya sat there feeling defeated, she remembered why she had fallen in love with photography in the first place. It was during her senior year of high school when she was assigned to photograph the school's basketball team for the yearbook. She had borrowed an old camera from her journalism teacher and spent hours learning how to use it properly. The moment that changed everything happened during a particularly intense game. The star player, Marcus, was known for his tough exterior and cocky attitude. But when Maya looked through her viewfinder, she saw something different. In the seconds after he scored the winning shot, before the crowd erupted and his teammates surrounded him, she captured a single tear rolling down his cheek. It was a moment of pure, vulnerable joy that no one else had noticed. When the photo was published in the yearbook, Marcus approached Maya in the hallway. He thanked her for showing a side of him that even he didn't know existed. That moment taught Maya that photography wasn't just about technical skill or expensive equipment. It was about seeing the human story behind the action, capturing the emotions that made sports so compelling. Remembering this gave Maya renewed determination. She walked back into the main conference hall with her head held higher. She spent the rest of the day networking, not trying to impress anyone with equipment she didn't have or experience she hadn't gained yet. Instead, she talked about her passion for storytelling through sports photography and her unique perspective as someone who had played sports herself throughout high school. By the end of the day, Maya had collected several business cards and made genuine connections with photographers who appreciated her enthusiasm. One sports editor from a smaller publication mentioned they were always looking for fresh talent and suggested Maya send her portfolio for review. As Maya packed up her things to leave, she overheard Tom Harrison on the phone with his editor. The photographer they had assigned to the championship game had just fallen ill and couldn't make it. Tom was scrambling to find a replacement on short notice. Maya's pulse quickened as she realized this might be her chance after all. She took a deep breath and approached Tom one more time. This time she didn't beg or plead. Instead, she calmly explained that she was available, prepared, and willing to deliver exactly what his publication needed. She showed him her detailed research about both teams, the key players to watch, and the critical moments that would likely define the game. Tom looked at her differently this time. The desperation in his eyes was evident as he weighed his limited options. After a long pause, he finally nodded and said the words that would change Maya's life forever. "All right, kid. You've got one shot. Don't mess it up." Maya's hands were still shaking as she walked out of the conference center with Tom's business card clutched tightly in her palm. She had exactly 48 hours to prepare for the biggest assignment of her life. The championship game between the Tigers and Hawks was set for Saturday night at the city's largest arena, and she would be shooting for one of the most respected sports publications in the region. The moment she got home to her tiny studio apartment, Maya spread everything out on her kitchen table. Her camera, the cracked telephoto lens, 2 backup batteries that were already showing signs of age, and a handful of memory cards she had bought in bulk online. Looking at her equipment next to the assignment brief Tom had given her, she felt a wave of panic wash over her. The brief was intimidating. The publication expected a minimum of 200 high-quality images covering every aspect of the game. They wanted action shots, emotional moments, crowd reactions, and at least one image worthy of the front page. The technical requirements were specific: high resolution, perfect focus, proper exposure even under challenging arena lighting conditions. Maya spent her first evening researching everything she could about both teams. She watched hours of game footage, studying the players' habits and playing styles. The Tigers were known for their aggressive offense and dramatic celebrations, while the Hawks relied on strategic defense and precision plays. She made detailed notes about key players to watch, identifying the moments that would likely produce the most compelling photographs. The star player everyone was talking about was Derek Thompson from the Tigers. He was having a career-defining season and was expected to break several records during the championship game. Maya studied his movement patterns, noting that he had a habit of looking up at the scoreboard after making significant plays. She realized this could provide opportunities for powerful portrait shots showing his intensity and focus. On the Hawks' side, the story was different. Their captain, Sarah Chen, was playing her final game before retiring. At 34, she had led the team through countless victories and was beloved by fans for her leadership and determination. Maya recognized that capturing Sarah's emotions during what would be her last professional game could result in images with incredible storytelling power. Maya's biggest challenge wasn't just understanding the teams, but mastering her equipment under pressure. She spent hours in her apartment practicing different camera settings, testing how quickly she could adjust for changing lighting conditions. She discovered that her camera's autofocus struggled in low light, which meant she would need to rely more on manual focus during crucial moments. To simulate game conditions, Maya visited the local basketball court after dark and asked some friends to help her practice. Using the court's harsh overhead lighting, she experimented with different ISO settings and shutter speeds. Her friends ran around playing informal games while Maya practiced tracking moving subjects and anticipating peak action moments. During these practice sessions, Maya made several important discoveries about her equipment. The crack in her telephoto lens actually created an interesting light flare effect when positioned correctly, something she learned to use creatively rather than seeing it as a limitation. She also found that her older camera model, while lacking some modern features, produced images with a distinctive character that newer cameras sometimes missed. On Friday morning, Maya made a crucial decision that would impact her entire approach to the assignment. Instead of trying to compete with the veteran photographers using expensive equipment, she would focus on capturing angles and moments they might overlook. She planned to position herself in less conventional spots around the arena, looking for unique perspectives that would set her images apart. Maya called the arena's media coordinator to discuss her positioning for the game. She learned that most photographers would be stationed courtside in the traditional press area, fighting for similar shots of the main action. Maya requested permission to move around more freely, explaining her strategy of capturing different angles and crowd reactions. The media coordinator, impressed by Maya's thoughtful preparation, agreed to give her additional access. This included permission to photograph from the upper levels during timeouts and halftime, something that would allow her to capture wide shots of the entire arena atmosphere that ground-level photographers couldn't achieve. Maya spent Friday afternoon scouting the arena during a practice session. She walked through every section accessible to media, identifying the best spots for different types of shots. She noted how the lighting changed throughout the arena and marked locations where she could capture players' emotional reactions without interfering with the game flow. While exploring the arena, Maya discovered something that would prove crucial to her success. There was a small media balcony that most photographers overlooked because it required climbing several flights of stairs and offered limited views of certain parts of the court. However, Maya realized this position provided a perfect angle for capturing the benches and coaching staff, areas where some of the most dramatic emotional moments often occurred. That evening, Maya carefully cleaned and prepared all her equipment. She organized her camera bag for maximum efficiency, ensuring she could quickly access backup batteries and memory cards without missing important moments. She created a detailed shooting plan, breaking down the game into segments and identifying the specific types of images she wanted to capture during each period. Maya also prepared mentally for what she knew would be an intense experience. She had never photographed an event with such high stakes, where thousands of fans would be screaming and the pressure on athletes would be enormous. She practiced breathing exercises to stay calm and focused, knowing that her ability to remain composed would directly impact the quality of her work. The night before the game, Maya received a text message from Tom Harrison that made her stomach churn with anxiety. He reminded her that the publication's reputation was on the line and that they were counting on her to deliver professional quality results. He also mentioned that several veteran photographers had questioned his decision to hire someone so inexperienced for such an important assignment. Instead of being discouraged by the pressure, Maya felt a surge of determination. She had worked too hard and come too far to let doubt creep in now. She spent her final evening reviewing her game plan one more time, visualizing different scenarios and how she would respond to them photographically. Maya barely slept that Friday night, her mind racing with excitement and nervousness. She kept checking and rechecking her equipment, making sure everything was properly charged and functioning. She reviewed the roster of both teams one final time, memorizing jersey numbers and player positions so she could quickly identify subjects during fast-paced action. As dawn broke on Saturday morning, Maya felt ready but nervous. She had done everything possible to prepare for this opportunity. Her equipment might not be the most expensive or newest, but she knew every setting and limitation intimately. Her research was thorough, her positioning strategy was unique, and her determination was unshakable. Maya looked at herself in the mirror as she got dressed for the biggest day of her career so far. The same girl who had been dismissed and overlooked at the conference just 2 days earlier was about to step into an arena filled with thousands of people, all watching the same game she would be documenting. Today, she would prove that success in photography wasn't just about having the best equipment or the most experience. Sometimes it was about having the vision to see what others missed and the courage to capture it. The arena was buzzing with energy 2 hours before tip-off as Maya arrived with her camera bag slung over her shoulder. The parking lot was already filling with fans wearing team colors, and the excitement in the air was palpable. Maya had arrived early to familiarize herself with the environment and test her equipment under actual game conditions. Security escorted her through the media entrance, where she received her official press credentials. The badge felt heavier than it should have, weighted with the significance of what it represented. As she clipped it to her shirt, Maya caught her reflection in a nearby window and hardly recognized herself. She looked professional, confident, ready for anything. The arena's interior was more intimidating than Maya had remembered from her scouting visit. The court looked smaller, surrounded by thousands of empty seats that would soon be filled with screaming fans. The lighting system was more complex than she had anticipated, with different zones of brightness that would require constant adjustment of her camera settings. Throughout the game, Maya made her way to the media room where other photographers were setting up their equipment and discussing strategy. She recognized several faces from the conference, including some who had witnessed her earlier rejection. Their expressions ranged from surprise to skepticism as they noticed her press credentials. One photographer whispered to another, clearly wondering how someone so young and inexperienced had secured such a prestigious assignment. Rather than feeling intimidated, Maya used their doubt as motivation. She quietly set up her workstation, checking her camera settings and organizing her equipment with practiced efficiency. She had learned from her research that confidence was just as important as technical skill in this environment. Tom Harrison arrived 30 minutes before game time, looking stressed and checking his phone constantly. He spotted Maya and walked over with an expression that mixed concern with hope. His regular photographer was still sick, and Maya represented his only option for covering this crucial game. "Remember what we discussed," Tom said, his voice tense. "We need clean, professional shots that tell the story of the game. Focus on the key players, capture the emotion, and don't miss the decisive moments." The editor is expecting front-page quality work. Maya nodded confidently, though her heart was racing. She had spent the last 2 days preparing for exactly this conversation, and she was ready with her strategy. She explained her positioning plan to Tom, highlighting how her unique approach would provide images that other publications might not capture. As fans began filling the arena, the noise level increased dramatically. Maya tested her ability to concentrate amid the growing chaos, practicing her camera controls until she could adjust settings without looking. The crowd's energy was infectious, and she found herself getting caught up in the excitement of the upcoming game. The warm-up period provided Maya with her first real test under game conditions. Both teams were on the court, and she had the opportunity to photograph the players in action without the pressure of missing crucial game moments. She moved between different positions around the court, testing various angles and getting a feel for how the players moved. During warm-ups, Maya captured her first significant image of the day. Sarah Chen, the Hawks' retiring captain, was stretching alone near the bench while her teammates practiced shots. The arena lights created a natural spotlight around her, and Maya caught the moment when Sarah looked up at the championship banner hanging from the ceiling. The expression on Sarah's face was a mixture of determination and nostalgia that perfectly captured the significance of her final game. Maya also used the warm-up period to observe the crowd and identify potential spots for capturing fan reactions. She noticed a section of particularly enthusiastic Tiger supporters who would likely provide dramatic celebration shots if their team performed well. Similarly, she spotted a group of Hawks fans who had brought elaborate signs supporting Sarah Chen in her final game. As game time approached, Maya positioned herself according to her carefully planned strategy. Instead of joining the cluster of photographers directly courtside, she chose a position slightly elevated that would allow her to capture both the action and the players' expressions more clearly. This decision would prove crucial as the game unfolded. The opening ceremony was more elaborate than Maya had expected. Both teams were introduced with dramatic lighting effects and pyrotechnics that created challenging photography conditions. Maya had to quickly adjust her settings to handle the contrast between bright spotlights and darker arena sections. Her practice sessions paid off as she smoothly adapted to the changing conditions. When Derek Thompson was introduced for the Tigers, the crowd erupted in cheers that shook the entire building. Maya captured the moment he emerged from the tunnel, his face showing intense focus despite the celebration around him. She noticed the way he scanned the crowd, and she was ready when his eyes landed on a section where his family was sitting. The brief smile that crossed his face told a story of personal connection amid professional pressure. The national anthem provided another opportunity for meaningful photographs. Maya positioned herself to capture both teams during this moment of unity before competition began. She was particularly drawn to the contrast between the young rookies, who looked nervous and excited, and the veteran players, who appeared calm and focused as they prepared for battle. As the referee prepared for the opening tip-off, Maya felt a surge of adrenaline that matched the energy in the arena. This was the moment she had been preparing for her entire career. All the rejected applications, the unpaid assignments, the criticism from more experienced photographers had led to this opportunity. The arena lights dimmed slightly as the game was about to begin, creating a more intimate atmosphere despite the thousands of spectators. Maya checked her camera settings one final time and took a deep breath. She thought about her family watching at home, about Tom Harrison trusting her with this assignment, and about all the people who had doubted her abilities. The opening tip-off was won by the Tigers, and Derek Thompson immediately took control of the ball. Maya tracked his movement through her viewfinder, waiting for the perfect moment to capture his first significant play of the game. The crowd's energy reached fever pitch as both teams sprinted up and down the court in the opening minutes. Maya quickly realized that her positioning strategy was working perfectly. While other photographers were capturing the obvious action shots, she was able to document the subtle emotional moments that occurred between plays. She caught the intense conversations between coaches and players during timeouts, the exhausted expressions during brief breaks in action, and the celebration rituals that revealed each player's personality. 15 minutes into the first quarter, Maya had already captured over 50 images, each one carefully composed and technically sound. Her confidence grew with each shot as she realized that her preparation and unique approach were producing exactly the kind of results Tom Harrison had requested. The game was living up to its championship billing, with both teams playing at an incredibly high level. The score remained close throughout the first quarter, creating tension that was visible not only in the players but also in the coaching staffs and the crowd. Maya made sure to document all aspects of this drama, understanding that the story of the game extended far beyond just the athletes on the court. As the first quarter ended with the Tigers leading by just 2 points, Maya reviewed some of her images on the camera's small screen. Even in the tiny preview, she could see that she was capturing something special. The images had the emotional depth and technical quality that professional sports photography demanded. Maya felt a surge of confidence as she prepared for the second quarter. She was no longer the nervous, inexperienced photographer who had been dismissed at the conference. She was a professional doing exactly what she was meant to do, and she was excelling at it. The second quarter brought even more intensity as both teams realized the championship was within reach. Maya had found her rhythm, moving fluidly between different positions around the arena while capturing the escalating drama of the game. Her unique positioning strategy was paying off in ways she hadn't anticipated, providing her with angles that the clustered courtside photographers were missing entirely. Maya noticed that Derek Thompson was beginning to show signs of the pressure. During a timeout, she captured him sitting alone on the bench, his head in his hands while his teammates celebrated around him after a successful play. The image revealed a vulnerability that contrasted sharply with his public image as an unstoppable force on the court. Maya knew this type of authentic moment was exactly what separated good sports photography from great storytelling. On the Hawks side, Sarah Chen was playing with a determination that seemed to energize her entire team. Maya documented the way Sarah communicated with her younger teammates, offering encouragement and strategic guidance during breaks in play. In one particularly powerful sequence, Maya captured Sarah helping a rookie player up after a hard fall, the veteran's experience and compassion evident in every gesture. Midway through the second quarter, the game took an unexpected turn. The Hawks went on a 12-point run that completely shifted the momentum and sent their fans into a frenzy. Maya was ready for this moment, having positioned herself where she could capture both the celebrating Hawks players and the stunned reaction of the Tigers bench. The contrast in emotions provided compelling visual storytelling that would help readers understand the dramatic swing in the game's energy. During this scoring run, Maya captured what she immediately recognized as a potential front-page image. Sarah Chen had just made a three-point shot that extended the Hawks' lead to its largest margin of the game. As Sarah ran back down the court, she pumped her fist toward the section where her family was sitting. Maya caught the exact moment when tears of joy became visible on Sarah's face, with the scoreboard and celebrating crowd creating a perfect backdrop that told the complete story of the moment. The Tigers called a timeout to regroup, and Maya used this break to change her position. She had been monitoring the light conditions throughout the game and noticed that the arena's lighting created particularly dramatic effects from the upper media balcony she had scouted. Making her way up the stairs, Maya prepared to capture wide shots that would show the full scope of the championship atmosphere. From her elevated position, Maya could see the entire arena in a way that ground-level photography couldn't achieve. The sea of fans wearing team colors, the intricate patterns they created with their coordinated cheering, and the way the court seemed to glow under the focused lighting all combined to create images that captured the scale and excitement of the event. During halftime, Maya had a few minutes to review her work and plan for the second half. Looking through her images on the camera's display, she felt a growing confidence that she was capturing something special. The technical quality was exactly what Tom Harrison had requested, but more importantly, she was documenting the human stories that made this game meaningful to players and fans alike. Maya also used the halftime break to check in with other media personnel and gauge their reactions to her work. The arena's media coordinator approached her with genuine curiosity about her unique positioning choices. When Maya showed him a few of her images, his impressed reaction confirmed that she was producing work that stood out from the typical championship game coverage. Tom Harrison found Maya during halftime and asked to see some of her images. As he scrolled through the shots on her camera, his expression shifted from nervous concern to genuine surprise and then to clear satisfaction. The images were not only technically proficient, but showed a storytelling perspective that his regular photographer might not have achieved. "This is exactly what we needed," Tom said, his relief evident. "You're capturing angles and emotions that are going to make our coverage unique. Keep doing exactly what you're doing." The third quarter began with both teams clearly feeling the pressure of the championship stakes. Maya positioned herself back at court level, anticipating that the increased intensity would create more opportunities for dramatic action shots. She was particularly focused on capturing the crucial plays that would likely determine the outcome of the game. Derek Thompson seemed to have found his rhythm during halftime, and he came out in the third quarter with renewed energy. Maya documented his transformation from the vulnerable player she had photographed earlier to the confident leader his team needed. When he made a spectacular dunk that brought the Tigers within 3 points, Maya was ready with her camera and captured not only the athletic achievement but also the pure joy on Derek's face as he hung from the rim. The crowd's energy reached new levels as the game remained close throughout the third quarter. Maya made sure to document the fan experience as well, capturing the elaborate costumes, the coordinated cheers, and the emotional investment that made sports photography about much more than just the athletes. She photographed grandparents explaining plays to young children, couples celebrating together, and longtime season ticket holders who clearly understood the significance of every possession. As the third quarter ended with only a 2-point difference between the teams, Maya realized she was witnessing the type of game that careers were made on. Both teams were playing at their absolute peak, and every possession in the final quarter would be crucial. She prepared her equipment for what she knew would be the most important 15 minutes of her photography career. Maya's confidence had grown throughout the game, but she also understood that the most challenging moments were still ahead. Championship games were often decided in the final minutes, when pressure reached its peak and players either rose to greatness or crumbled under the weight of expectations. Her job was to be ready for whichever direction the story took. During the break between quarters, Maya reviewed her positioning strategy for the final period. She wanted to be close enough to capture the intensity on players' faces during crucial plays, but also positioned where she could document the coaching decisions and bench reactions that would be part of the game's narrative. She decided to stay mobile, moving between several predetermined positions as the action dictated. The fourth quarter would test every aspect of Maya's preparation and skill. The lighting conditions would become more challenging as the arena's atmosphere reached its peak intensity. The crowd noise would make communication difficult, and the pressure on players would create moments of either triumph or heartbreak that she needed to be ready to capture. Maya checked her equipment one final time as the teams prepared to take the court for the final quarter. Her batteries were still strong, her memory cards had plenty of space, and her camera settings were optimized for the current conditions. More importantly, she felt mentally prepared for whatever the next 15 minutes would bring. As the players took their positions for the start of the fourth quarter, Maya raised her camera and focused on Derek Thompson and Sarah Chen. These two players had emerged as the primary storylines of the game, and Maya suspected that one or both of them would be central to whatever dramatic conclusion awaited. She was ready to document the moment when this championship game would be decided, and she knew that her photographs would help tell the story for years to come. The final quarter began with an intensity that seemed to electrify the entire arena. Both teams understood that every possession could determine the championship, and Maya could feel the tension through her camera viewfinder as she tracked the increasingly desperate plays on both sides. The score remained impossibly close, with neither team able to establish more than a 3-point lead. Maya positioned herself along the sideline where she could capture the full range of emotions playing out on both benches. The coaches were more animated than she had seen all game, calling out instructions and strategies with increasing urgency. She documented the nervous energy of substitute players who knew they might be called upon to make championship-deciding contributions. With 8 minutes remaining, Derek Thompson picked up his fourth foul while trying to defend against one of Sarah Chen's drives to the basket. Maya was perfectly positioned to capture his reaction, a mixture of frustration and concern that told the story of how much pressure he was feeling. The Tigers coach immediately called a timeout, and Maya switched her focus to document the heated discussion between Thompson and his coaching staff about how to play the remainder of the game without fouling out. During this timeout, Maya noticed something that would prove crucial to the story she was documenting. Sarah Chen was clearly exhausted from carrying her team throughout the game, but she was refusing to come out for rest. Maya captured the moment when Sarah waved off her coach's suggestion to take a break, the determination in her eyes making it clear that she intended to finish her career on the court, regardless of fatigue. The game resumed with both teams playing more cautiously, aware that a single mistake could end their championship dreams. Maya found herself constantly adjusting her position to stay ahead of the action, while maintaining the angles that had been working throughout the game. The crowd noise had reached levels that made it difficult to concentrate, but Maya had learned to use the energy rather than fight against it. With 4 minutes left, the Hawks managed to build a 6-point lead that sent their fans into celebration mode. Maya captured the jubilant faces in the crowd, but she also noticed that the Tigers players on the bench weren't giving up. Derek Thompson was actively encouraging his teammates, and Maya documented the leadership moment that revealed another dimension of his character under pressure. The Tigers responded with a run of their own, tying the game with just over 2 minutes remaining. The arena reached a crescendo of noise that Maya could feel vibrating through her equipment. She had never experienced anything like the energy in that building, and she made sure to document not just the players' reactions but the complete environment that was creating this unforgettable championship atmosphere. Maya realized that she was witnessing the type of game-ending sequence that sports photographers dream about capturing. With the score tied and time running out, every possession would be crucial, and the emotional stakes couldn't be higher. She checked her camera settings one more time and prepared for what she sensed would be the defining moments of the entire game. Sarah Chen took control of the ball for the Hawks with 90 seconds remaining. Maya tracked her movement as Sarah called out instructions to her teammates while dribbling against intense defensive pressure. The veteran player was clearly running on determination alone, her exhaustion evident in every step, but her focus remained absolute. With 45 seconds left, Sarah drove to the basket and scored what appeared to be the go-ahead basket. Maya captured the moment perfectly, showing Sarah's celebration while the scoreboard in the background displayed the 2-point Hawks lead. But the celebration was premature. The referees were reviewing the play to determine if Sarah had stepped out of bounds before scoring. The review took nearly 3 minutes, during which Maya documented the anxiety on both benches and the nervous energy of fans throughout the arena. Players from both teams stood around uncertainly, their championship dreams hanging on a referee's decision about a boundary line. Maya realized this moment of suspended tension was as important to the story as any game action. When the referees finally ruled that Sarah had indeed stepped out of bounds, negating her basket and keeping the game tied, Maya was ready. She captured the exact moment when Sarah's face registered the devastating news, her expression showing the weight of potentially costing her team the championship in her final game. The image told a complete story about pressure, disappointment, and the thin line between victory and defeat in championship competition. The game resumed with 28 seconds remaining, and the score still tied. Both coaches used their final timeouts to set up potential game-winning plays, and Maya positioned herself where she could capture whatever dramatic conclusion awaited. The entire arena was on its feet, and Maya could barely hear herself think above the crowd noise. Derek Thompson inbounded the ball for the Tigers with 15 seconds left. Maya followed the play through her viewfinder as the ball moved between players, each pass bringing the championship closer to a decision. With 8 seconds remaining, Thompson received the ball near the three-point line with Sarah Chen defending him closely. What happened next unfolded in slow motion for Maya, even though the actual play took only seconds. Thompson faked left, causing Sarah to commit to that direction, then stepped back for a three-point attempt that would either win the championship for the Tigers or send the game to overtime. As Thompson released the ball, Maya pressed her shutter. The image Maya captured at that moment would become legendary in sports photography. Thompson was perfectly positioned in the center of the frame, his shooting form textbook perfect, with Sarah Chen visible in the background, her hand raised in a futile attempt to block the shot. The arena lights created a natural spotlight effect around both players, and the crowd was captured in various stages of anticipation, some already celebrating while others held their breath. But Maya's instincts told her to keep shooting even after capturing the shot attempt. As the ball traveled through the air toward the basket, she continued photographing, documenting the reactions of players, coaches, and fans as they watched the championship hang in the balance. Her finger never left the shutter button as the ball swished through the net with 2 seconds remaining, giving the Tigers a 3-point lead and what would prove to be the championship victory. The moment the shot went in, the arena exploded in a way Maya had never experienced. Tigers fans screamed with joy while Hawks supporters stood in stunned silence. Maya captured Derek Thompson's celebration, his teammates mobbing him at center court, and the Tigers coaches hugging each other on the sideline. But she also made sure to document Sarah Chen's reaction, the veteran player standing alone near the Hawks bench. Her career ending just 3 points short of the championship she had worked her entire professional life to achieve. Maya's camera captured every emotion in those final moments. The joy of victory, the agony of defeat, the relief of coaches whose strategies had succeeded, and the devastation of those whose plans had fallen just short. She documented the Tigers players cutting down the nets, the presentation of the championship trophy, and Derek Thompson being named the game's most valuable player. But perhaps the most powerful image Maya captured came after all the official celebrations had ended. As the arena began to empty, she photographed Sarah Chen sitting alone on the Hawks bench, still in uniform, taking one final look at the court where her career had just ended. The image showed a champion's grace in defeat, and the bittersweet nature of sports where careers and dreams could end in an instant. Maya realized that she had documented something far more significant than just a basketball game. She had captured a complete human story about pressure, dreams, triumph, and heartbreak that would resonate with anyone who had ever competed for something they desperately wanted. As the arena slowly emptied and the media began filing their stories, Maya downloaded her images to review what she had captured during the most intense 3 hours of her career. Looking at the hundreds of photographs on her laptop screen, she could see that she had achieved something remarkable. Each image told part of a larger story, and together they created a comprehensive narrative of one of the most memorable championship games in recent history. Tom Harrison found Maya in the media room as she was organizing her final image selections. His expression had transformed completely from the nervous concern he had shown before the game. Now he looked like an editor who knew he had stumbled upon something special that would set his publication apart from all the other championship coverage. "I need to see everything," Tom said, pulling up a chair next to Maya's workstation. "From what I glimpsed during the game, you've captured something extraordinary here." Maya walked Tom through her best images, explaining the story behind each photograph and how they fit together to tell the complete narrative of the game. Tom's excitement grew with each image as he realized that Maya had produced exactly the type of unique, emotionally powerful coverage that would make readers choose his publication over the competition. The image of Derek Thompson's game-winning shot would indeed become iconic, But Tom was equally impressed by Maya's documentation of the human moments that surrounded the main action. Her photographs of Sarah Chen's final game, the crowd reactions, and the emotional journey of both teams provided context that elevated the coverage from simple sports reporting to compelling storytelling. "This changes everything," Tom told Maya as they finished reviewing the images. "You've just produced some of the best sports photography I've seen in 20 years of journalism. We're not just covering this game, we're telling the definitive story that people will remember years from now." Maya felt a surge of validation that went beyond professional success. She had proven to herself that her instincts about storytelling through photography were correct, and that her unique perspective could compete with anyone in the industry. The girl who had been dismissed and overlooked just days earlier had just delivered work that would establish her reputation in sports photography. As Maya packed up her equipment for the final time that night, she reflected on how dramatically her life had changed in just a few hours. She had arrived at the arena as an unknown photographer taking the biggest risk of her career, and she was leaving as someone who had just captured images that would be talked about and published for years to come. The championship game had ended, but Maya's real story was just beginning. She had proven that success in photography wasn't about having the most expensive equipment or the longest resume. It was about having the vision to see what others missed, the preparation to be ready when opportunity arrived, and the courage to trust your instincts when everything was on the line. Maya woke up the next morning to her phone buzzing constantly with notifications. Still groggy from the adrenaline crash of the previous night, she initially ignored the sounds, thinking they were just routine social media alerts, but as the buzzing continued relentlessly, she finally picked up her phone and discovered that her life had changed overnight in ways she never could have imagined. Tom Harrison had published Maya's photographs in the early morning edition, and the response was immediate and overwhelming. The image of Derek Thompson's game-winning shot was being shared across social media platforms, with sports fans and photography enthusiasts praising both the technical excellence and emotional impact of the capture. But it wasn't just that single image. Maya's entire collection from the game was being recognized as exceptional sports journalism. The first call came from a photographer Maya had met at the conference, someone who had witnessed her initial rejection just days earlier. His tone was completely different now, filled with respect and genuine admiration for what she had accomplished. He explained that Maya's work was being discussed in photography circles across the city, with established professionals asking who this new photographer was and how she had managed to capture angles that veteran sports photographers had missed. Maya's phone continued ringing throughout the morning. As word spread about her championship game coverage, sports editors from major publications were calling to introduce themselves and discuss potential assignments. Photography agencies that had previously ignored her portfolio submissions were now eager to represent her work. The transformation from unknown photographer to sought-after professional had happened literally overnight. Tom Harrison called around noon with news that would change Maya's trajectory even more dramatically. The image of Derek Thompson's shot had been selected by the National Sports Photography Association as one of the top 10 sports photographs of the year. Additionally, several major publications were requesting permission to republish Maya's images, offering payment rates that exceeded what she had made in the previous 6 months combined. But the call that meant the most to Maya came from Sarah Chen herself. The retiring Hawks captain had seen Maya's photograph of her final moments on the court and wanted to thank her personally for capturing the emotion of that bittersweet ending to her career. Sarah explained that Maya's image had helped her process the disappointment of losing the championship by showing her the dignity and grace she had maintained even in defeat. "Your photograph reminded me that sports are about more than just winning and losing," Sarah told Maya during their conversation. "You captured something beautiful about the journey itself, and that means more to me than any trophy could." Maya was touched by Sarah's call, but she was even more impacted by what it represented. Her photographs weren't just technically proficient images. They were creating emotional connections and helping people understand their own experiences through the lens of sports competition. This was exactly the type of meaningful work Maya had dreamed of creating when she first fell in love with photography. The attention continued building throughout the week as Maya's images appeared in publications across the country. Sports magazines featured her work in special championship coverage issues, and photography journals published articles analyzing her unique approach to capturing the game. Maya found herself being interviewed about her techniques and philosophy, suddenly positioned as an expert in a field where she had been considered an amateur just days earlier. Maya's success opened doors that had previously seemed impossible to access. Professional sports teams began reaching out directly to hire her for upcoming games and special events. Photography workshops invited her to speak about her experience and teach other aspiring photographers. Equipment manufacturers offered sponsorship, deals that would provide her with the professional-grade cameras and lenses she had always dreamed of owning. But perhaps the most significant opportunity came from the National Sports Broadcasting Network that had televised the championship game. They offered Maya a position as their lead sports photographer, which would involve traveling to major sporting events across the country and documenting the biggest stories in professional athletics. The salary alone was more than Maya had ever imagined earning from photography. But the creative opportunities were what truly excited her. Maya's family was overwhelmed by the sudden transformation in her career prospects. Her parents, who had sacrificed so much to support her photography dreams, were amazed to see their investment paying off in such a dramatic way. Her younger brother, who had given up his own activities to help fund Maya's equipment, was now bragging to his friends about his sister's national recognition. The photography community's response to Maya's success was mostly positive, though she did encounter some resentment from established photographers who questioned how someone so inexperienced could achieve such recognition so quickly. Maya handled these criticisms with grace, acknowledging that she had been fortunate to receive such a significant opportunity, while also standing behind the quality of her work and the preparation that had made her success possible. Maya decided to accept the broadcasting network position, understanding that it would provide her with access to sporting events and athletes that would accelerate her career development exponentially. But she also made a commitment to herself to remember the lessons from her breakthrough moment, that success came from preparation, unique perspective, and the courage to take risks when opportunities arose. As Maya prepared for her first assignment with the broadcasting network, she reflected on how dramatically her life had changed since that moment of rejection at the photography conference. The same people who had dismissed her as inexperienced were now seeking her advice and collaboration. Equipment manufacturers who had previously ignored her were now competing for her endorsement. Publications that had rejected her submissions were now offering lucrative contracts for her work. Maya's story began spreading beyond just photography and sports communities. Business publications featured her as an example of how persistence and preparation could create opportunities even when traditional paths seemed blocked. Career counselors used her experience to illustrate how setbacks could become setups for unexpected success. The cracked telephoto lens that Maya had once seen as a limitation became part of her signature style as she continued using it even after receiving offers for expensive replacements. The unique light flare effect it created became something that clients specifically requested, turning what had been a financial constraint into a creative advantage. Maya also made sure to give back to aspiring photographers who reminded her of herself just months earlier. She began mentoring young photographers, sharing not just technical knowledge but also the importance of developing a unique perspective and being ready when opportunities presented themselves. She remembered how lonely and discouraged she had felt when everyone seemed to doubt her abilities, and she was determined to provide encouragement to others facing similar challenges. Looking back on that championship game night, Maya realized that capturing Derek Thompson's game-winning shot had been important, but it wasn't the only factor in her success. Her comprehensive documentation of the entire event, her unique positioning strategy, and her ability to tell the human stories behind the athletic competition had been equally crucial to establishing her reputation. Maya's career continued growing as she covered major sporting events across the country, each assignment building on the reputation she had established during that first championship game. But she never forgot the lessons from her breakthrough moment, that success often came to those who were prepared to seize unexpected opportunities, and that sometimes the biggest risks led to the most rewarding outcomes. The girl who had been told she wasn't ready for professional sports, photography had proven that readiness wasn't just about experience or equipment. It was about having the vision to see what others missed and the courage to capture it when the moment arrived. Maya's story became proof that sometimes all it takes is one shot to change everything, as long as you're prepared to take it when the opportunity comes.